Hello and welcome to Automat Live Coding. This is the stream where we make Automat. This is Automat. Automat is a game automation environment. It contains a bunch of toys that you can use to do all sorts of stuff. This one, for instance, can be used to record macros. This is a macro. I just recorded a macro. I can play it back by clicking this button, and yeah, it plays. You can see what's happening here. It's going to move left now, I think, and click. So those objects, come on. Those objects within Automat, they can be connected together using those cables. They are used for passing control flow. So you can create a loop like that. And now we have a macro that's going to loop forever. We just... And it's all interactive. So even when the macro is playing, I can still change the objects which are connected to it. And it's going to change the behavior of this timeline instantly. It's like... it's a live programming environment, really, that can be used for automation. Just the automation is the main use for it. And during the last stream, we have been working on a new clone effect. I was going to finish this clone effect yesterday, but I didn't. I realized that, hey, this clone effect, it kind of functions very similarly to the grid snapping. So Automat has a grid, right? So when I drag an object, it kind of snaps to grid, right? So I had this idea that, hey, maybe I can make it so that when I drag something, like this object, I can drag this responsively, but it's going to still snap to the positions on the grid. That was the idea. Unfortunately, unifying those two mechanisms kind of dragged me into a rabbit hole. So after doing this, I realized that, hey, actually, this is kind of similar to the cable deformation. Like the cables can also be deformed in a very similar way. They have this snapping mechanism, which also works kind of like that. And I just broke everything. And the only solution, the only way forward is to push through. But pushing through this, I really want to unify this. I really like this effect, like things are wobbly. But this wobbliness here, it's not a fully deliberate effect. It's a way that the rendering system hides latency. Because when I'm dragging this object, I'm dragging this object at the old position, and the compositor gets a fresh mouse position, and it deforms the texture to follow the mouse. So this wobbliness, actually the core of Automat has no idea that it happens. It's just a compositing mechanism that allows me to kind of pin textures to the pointer and minimize drag latency. So the slower your computer is when it runs Automat, the more wobbly everything is going to be, because the rendering is going to be more laggy then. And you can see, even at my computer, it's a pretty beefy computer, this displacement, between the original position of the object and, where it is, it's kind of high. It's slightly too high. This is probably a bug. There should be not so much wobbliness on this PC. This level of wobbliness is reserved to slower PCs. So there is something that has to be fixed here.
Tadim says,
Classic rabbit hole spiral. Soon you'll have re-implemented everything in Rust as microservices.
Yeah. But I think that there are good rabbit holes and bad rabbit holes. I think this one is a very good one. It actually makes the system genuinely more responsive. It like this unification brings features that I had no idea were possible initially. So
Good morning.
McCree says.
Interesting.
hey, it's very buggy. You can see that shadows are doing some very weird movements, but there is I can show you this cool effect. I can create a clone, right? Clone. There cannot be two clones of the same object on the same board, so the clones merge back into their original objects. I drop it, it kind of merges back. So there is this effect that happens around the edge of the board, which is the clone suddenly gets pulled towards the original. This is a very fun effect. Again, that was kind of the point, but this is a result of this kind of merge. The same mechanism which is used to snap objects to grid, the same mechanism which is used to hide latency of the mouse, is also used to draw this pull effect. And the same happens within the black hole. When I drop the object into the black hole, you can see that the black hole is stretching this object. It's being pulled in. I am going to work on renderer today. I am not happy about this. I have spent months working on this renderer. It's already pretty over-engineered. So this is how I feel today. Like, what are we going to do? We are going to over-engineer our rendering infrastructure again. But okay, it's probably good. It's probably good. It's probably worth it.
Tadoom says.
This should make the UI feel so alive.
McCree says.
Is there a limit of how many objects you can have in a project within Automat?
Performance is the main limit. The objects are identified by just pointers, so there are no arrays holding those objects, nothing like that. As many as your memory can hold. Every object is... The objects are fairly cheap. They are maybe, I don't know, 64 bytes each. The widgets are expensive. So the objects, when you have the window opened, a single widget is probably like 100 kilobytes or more. It also needs to store the bitmap on the GPU, so this is kind of expensive. But I can minimize Automat to system tray, so now it disappeared. But when it's minimized to system tray, you can find... Okay, so this is Automat's memory. Now it's using 200 megabytes. 286 megabytes, but then when I show it, you can see it immediately grows to like 500. This is allocating textures and the graphics display. But as long as you do not look at them, the widgets are kind of deallocated, so they do not use memory when you are not looking at them. Yeah, zooming in and out should actually make the memory behave more erratically. I don't know why it's so constant right now. And now it goes back down. It should go more down. Anyway. What the hell? Widget is not found? Okay, this is a bug. Anyway. All of the changes, which kind of broke Automat, I have isolated them. They are staged right now. So I can still just not apply them. I can ignore them, I can still throw everything out. So I'm going to keep them in this staged state and work on them, iterate on them until I'm happy with the shape. And then I'm going to commit them.
It is the same principle used in some games. It only renders what you are looking at. What is off screen is is not rendered so it can improve the performance, right?
Master
Yes.
Chica says.
Feature suggestion?
And this is... you can go ahead with this feature suggestion, I'm interested. Every good game does this. Some game engines actually make this very difficult. In Unity, for instance, you have this concept of scenes, so you kind of have to create objects which are part of the scene, even if they are not directly relevant to what you're doing. But most good games find a way to get around this and somehow make those objects go to sleep and only activate them when they are on screen and important. Yes. So it's a very important property. There is a difference in Automat. Automat is kind of like a programming environment. So it's structured in layers. So there is a core layer. This is called VM. Within VM, there are objects. An object is a very cheap thing. It's just, 24 bytes. Actually, it's much less than I said. And an object defines the behavior of something. It can contain pointers to other objects. They are very lightweight, very cheap. They cannot render anything themselves. But each object has this function called make toy. Exactly. And toy is the visual representation of the object. A toy is this heavyweight thing that renders it. So when you do not look at the object, it kind of just sits there in memory. It's invisible, it's very cheap, it can still perform the work. This is the macro recorder. A macro recorder is an object, a timeline is an object. Super lightweight things, 24 bytes. But let's take a look at widget. A widget is 760 bytes. It's like 30 times more expensive, not counting the textures. If you count the textures, it probably goes into hundreds of kilobytes. So this is why this split exists. The objects in memory, this is how you define the program, how your program should work. And widgets are a visual representation of objects. And actually, you do not even need the objects, because objects are just kind of tools that you can use to operate on something. So if you have a... Okay, this is not really implemented, but an object... I can show you the part which is implemented. This is, for instance, an object. This object represents a single instruction of assembly, where I can write something to a register, to a CPU register. Let's put lol in a register. So here, this is a register called arrayx, symbolized by this guy, and it contains the value lol, ASCII value lol. Yeah.
707 widget not found bug report screen when you can internally encode diagnose. Widget not found. Status bug die.
Yeah. This widget not found, only some of them are bugs, like not all of them. Sometimes it's actually reasonable. Anyway, tangent. This object, this instruction object, we can locate it in code. Instruction, let's go to the header. This is the instruction object. It's much heavier. This one is actually 200 bytes because it contains some information about the instruction, like some pointers. There is some LLVM field, which is like 128 bytes. It's very heavy. But this is what we kind of need to properly generate this instruction. The idea is that this object represents an instruction, and if you use this object to write the instruction, this instruction itself, it's maybe like 10 bytes long, maybe longer. Yeah, it's 10 bytes. So the idea is that you use those objects to create a program in assembly, but once you do this, you can delete the instruction, and another object can represent a whole block of instructions. So you use objects as tools to operate on actual machine code. It's not a it's not that this instruction is being executed, it's just a visual representation of some actual instruction. So an object can go away, but the instruction is like, now it's not in memory anymore, but if I use this object in a different way, it could describe an external instruction. Wobbly. Things are shaky here. Okay.
Tadoom says,
Can you code Automat within Automat ASM yet? How many widgets would that be?
That's the point. That's the point. The point is that C++ is a kind of a shitty language. It's very inefficient, it's very hard to use, and assembly allows me to bypass a lot of inefficiencies of C++, like, for instance, calling conventions. I do not care about calling conventions. I actually want to have a nice machine code-based interface for defining new objects. This way, the new objects that I create within Automat can be faster than if I coded them in C++. So yes, that's the point, that's the point. So this is the kind of like abstract model. And that would be probably a lot of objects if you are working on this. Because, like I said, you only use objects to write code. Once you wrote the code, you just need a single object that represents the whole piece of machine code. You want to dig in, you can kind of analyze the object and analyze the machine code and break it into smaller objects that you can then manipulate, fiddle with them, play with them in real time. But then you can get rid of them and the machine code still exists in memory, so it still executes. This way it's ridiculously cheap. It's very cheap to, and it's very efficient to just have machine code in memory and not have any kind of objects around it. This is kind of the model behind Automat as a visual programming environment. It can operate directly on all sorts of things.
For the UE, this reminds me a lot of punch card computing where each widget is a whole, and the card itself is the collapsed view.
It's more like, so to work with those punched, those old machines, you had like a deck of cards, and those were like instructions. Like, that's actually a deck of cards. That's a very fitting metaphor to this deck of cards. But those objects here, they are just the tools that allow you to describe how this instruction, what it should hold. Once you define what the instruction should be, the point is you do not need the tool. It's like having this machine that was used to create holes in the instruction cards. You do not need this once you encoded it. So objects are just kind of tools for operating directly on some data. And widgets are just their visual representation. So it's very, all in all, it tries to be as efficient as possible. But this is probably enough about this. I actually want to address the rendering issue. I started writing the instruction that's supposed to fix all this. We can go through this because it could actually be interesting. Make this larger. One thing I really dislike about stochastic parrots is that they are so lazy. When you talk with them, they will just confabulate information, they will invent new terms. They will use very lazy language to talk with you. But to control them, you have to put a lot of effort into being very precise yourself. It's very hard to express yourself clearly so that those instruction-tuned stochastic parrots, they can perform good work. So I really dislike this asymmetry. On the one hand, I need to work very hard to give very precise instructions, but this device, is going to just spew bullshit at me, and like walls of text, which without any organization. It's very annoying. But I guess I have to get used to this. Okay. Previous agent worked over many sessions towards unifying several related blah blah blah, snapping measurable blah 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 into a new cleaner abstraction. Snapping allows for scaling, containment, alignment width. Actually, when I let this parrot work, I think we can do some other interesting things in the meantime. Let's see. I'll see. I remember there have been some interesting articles. Once I let the parrot kind of roll, we'll look at some other things. There are some interesting articles I want to check out. Let me also change the name of the stream. Grid snapping, blah 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 blah. Responsive location dragging. A location, possibly more than one, dragged outside the board should stay rigid and at the same time stick to the pointer. This is the So we have this. There is one more mechanism. It should preserve. Connections.
Meister Chica says,
In reconsidering my life choices.
Why is that?
Tadoom says,
Claude refactor my life.
Meister Chica says.
In Croatia, there is Victory Day celebrations Homeland War now. WTET. And as I'm in reserves in uniform today, and it's 44 outside, but
44. Yo.
Tadoom says.
07.
Whoa. Extremely high temperature warning for Croatia. I'm sorry, I hope you survive. I really hope you survive. I mean, maybe it will console you. I've been in Asia some time ago, and they have much worse. Their summers are brutal. Like, this kind of weather is normal, like in Japan during summer. During August, actually. August is the worst. And they somehow found a way to survive. They are the leading manufacturer of air conditioning units. Probably because of that.
Meister Chica says.
Last year it was not so hot, but I'm kinda happy that this year we don't have parade. Oh wait, Gabriel will explain later.
McCree says.
How much coding do you do now, since I see that you use Claude?
I usually do just like templates. I will. There is one thing that Claude is kind of bad at, and this is API design. It will come with the worst architecture you can imagine. So that part is important to do yourself, but everything else is almost everything else is Claude, or like some other stochastic parrot provider. And yeah, and you just have to keep it so that it also likes to fall back to some like standard ways of doing stuff, which is not always the right way to do it. So you have to just be careful so that it doesn't delete like the essence of the program, like the essence of the structure. Sometimes you just want to preserve some invariants, and like an LLM comes up with its own like orthogonal way of doing stuff, which is, or maybe I should say parallel, yeah.
Damn.
So, like, for instance, there is this thing that annoys me in this most recent change. Like, this is the stuff that was added yesterday. There is this snap pose that, again, Parrot added this yesterday. I don't like this. This snap pose is totally redundant with another matrix that we already have in a widget. So it's... do not like it at all. Position and scale, we already have this. But I do not want to confuse it, so I will ask it to think creatively now, and then I will tell it what to actually do. Because maybe it will figure this out by itself. Let's put numbers on those different modes. In the third mode,
Aren't you afraid that you are losing the skill of writing code? I'm curious to know the perspective of a skillful programmer like you.
not at all. Not in the very least. It's... You still need to work on this code. It's not like the code that Stochastic Parrot produces is going to just be good right away. It still always needs refactoring. Not refactoring, like, it often needs some kind of alignment so that it fits with everything else. This redundancy, the fact that it keeps reinventing stuff like from scratch over and over, it's like the LLMs are bad at having their aligning with the existing code-based structure or architecture, so you just end up with a lot of mess. If you just... You need to work on the code still. It's like code completion, it's not going to think for you.
Yay, I understand.
Actually, this old matrix has a name. Let's use the proper name. It's already fresh matrix. What matrices do we have?
Meister Chica says.
Had to make dinner reservations.
I see you're celebrating.
Engagement anniversary. Dot bululu.
Mm. And fresh, not matrix. Fresh.
Last year, this time of day, I was calling my parents to tell them that she said yes.
Nice.
McCree says.
CP Chica, congrats, dot.
And the last one.
Tadoom says.
Nice. Congratulations.
Meister Chica says.
Thank you.
This one has this issue, but I think this one also has it.
McCree says,
Do you play any video games? If so, what is your favorite one?
Favorite one? Probably Beat Saber. It's a reflex game. You do not see this, but it's like the most satisfying game to play that I ever played. And it is a VR game. Like, this game alone, it's good enough reason to get a VR headset. Like the Oculus Quest, it's perfect for playing this. I didn't this itself. And I'm also playing some games right now. This one, I just started, but yeah, an older one. I like when the people who made games like not so long ago, they used to put a lot of effort into making the game tell a story. So the game was kind of like a movie with some, reflex elements. I see less of this now. Stories are kind of humor is not there. The funniest game I played was Armed and Dangerous. I've seen it recently. It looks like crap, but the writing in that game is amazing still. It's like that part I absolutely adore about it.
If there would have not been the AI to help you with the coding, how far behind would you have been?
I might have been ahead actually. All the stuff that I'm doing right now, I've spent I actually started way before the stream, because at the start of the stream you actually saw most of this prompt written. It's I think this is the second hour that I'm writing this prompt right now. During this time I would be halfway through refactoring already. But it's hard to guess, whether it's like rolling a dice. It's like being at a casino, I want to see if I'm lucky and it will work this time or not, and I have to kind of do this myself.
Tadoom says,
Put it in a slot machine.
Exactly, yeah. And are there any other bugs?
Tempted to just let it design algos brute force in batch mode, then automatically run them against the datasets to see if it can come up with something better.
Yeah, this is how they are optimized. Like, there are those rollouts where you let agents solve the same problem thousands of times, and you select the solution which was achieved the fastest, and then you reinforce those kind of solutions so that it generates better solutions faster. This is how you reinforce good problem-solving strategies in those models. This is what labs like OpenAI, DeepMind, and others do.
Meister Chica says,
Some people are just crazy with fan art.
URL.
This out.
Tadoom says,
Damn, the detail is incredible.
Except the face. Yeah, it reminds me of those statues from Middle Ages or like ancient times. They do not have any paint right now, but back in the day they had paint, and the reconstruction of this paint, it just looks like that. But yeah, it's nicely made. I wonder if there is like a board game, like tabletop game based on Metro Exodus. Looks like it was, like it is. I'm prompting this. There are many things that are important when prompting, like using negative language, for instance. It can damage the performance of the model. So it's important to make the model feel nice, even when it's making errors, and even if it's making you angry. It's important not to insult it, because then the performance drops.
Meister Chica says,
I think there was. I mean, there are so much in Metro Universe.
URL.
What happened? Okay. Okay, this is running. We could actually run this within Automat, because Automat, I don't know if you know, it includes terminal, not terminal emulator, it includes a Wayland compositor. So I can do stuff like this.
There was not an Exodus 1, but there was 2033 board game.
So this is, oh, it's a wobbly window. Oh, look at that. It's like, it feels like compies. I guess I can disconnect. This shadow is kind of annoying. The wobbliness here, it's actually slightly different than wobbliness in compies. This is using slightly different displacement method. This one is based on something called Kelvinlets. This is just a repeated application of repeated small displacements. It's actually simple, but it has some nice properties. When you, instead of having like one big displacement, if you do them slowly over many steps, it just avoids some issues like discontinuities, mirror images. Ooh. This is another issue. You can kind of, if you observe this carefully, you can guess how the renderer works. You see that it starts drawing this deformed image when I'm here. You can compare this with the original one. The clip actually shows where we are clipping the texture. So this object is rendered here, but I take this texture and deform it and place it here. Okay. It crashed. Interesting. It's not doing much. It's reading files, and that's good. Okay, I had some articles I wanted to check out. There was this one, for instance. Oh, it's just presents Darktable. Oh, I know Darktable. The AI aesthetic. Every sidegate comes with new design idioms unique to its challenges. Many of them disappear as fads change, but others bake themselves into deeper parts of the existing software interaction paradigms. For example, there is the hamburger menu, which saw a proliferation during the rise of mobile due to the constraints around screen size. has since spread to many other parts of software interaction design and will likely remain prevalent for a long time as a terse way of indicating more menu type content here. As another example, before AI, there were the connotations of the sparkle emoji. What were the connotations of the sparkle emoji? Personally, I don't know, but now it means AI. AI equals sparkles and rainbow colors. It's funny when you think about it. They should have just thrown unicorns in there for the trifecta. AI, sparkles, rainbows, and unicorns. I actually haven't seen this. I know that Gemini uses asteroid as the icon. Yeah. So the symbol of Gemini is an asteroid. They haven't used sparkles used like that. Okay. Some patterns are very specific to the interactions inherent to the nature of AI as a technology. For example, streaming text. This is a pattern made for and refined by chat interfaces, so it may not have tons of utility for use across other software interaction paradigms. Okay. It's not really talking about AI aesthetic. This article is more talking about AI design patterns. Then there are other patterns that have been refined by AI interfaces and are starting to spread to other places in software. For example, the shimmering text, which in AI land implies a kind of thinking that is being repurposed to indicate any kind of asynchronous task. Thinking, fetching, computing, etc. And this is actually a nice effect. There is this very subtle gradient scrolling through the text. And then there are other influences my subconscious is picking up on. For example, a lot of AI apps use tiny icons. These are most obvious to me in desktop Electron apps because they clash with the system-level grain of applications. Take a look at these screenshots where you have desktop AI apps on the left and Mac OS apps from Apple on the right. Yeah. You can see how AI apps have a much smaller, thinner icons than their native counterparts. Yeah, but I think the spacing is generally larger here. Like those are like 5 options, those are like 6 options. Not sure. Yeah. It's just a regular UI inconsistency, nothing unusual. All apps are like that. Have always been. Are tiny icons?
All this tells is that they didn't tell it to vibe code the woo-wee according to the Apple design specs. Dr.
Meister Chica says.
I'm linking 5.6.
Yeah. Apple is fairly consistent, it looks. This type of pattern, actually I've seen this more in GNOME, like this part where you have a vertical bar touching the top of the window. But maybe GNOME is like just copying Apple design, so maybe GNOME just copied Apple here. By the way, I have no idea why they do this. For some reason, there was some point in Linux history where GNOME just started mindlessly copying Apple design. See? There are some other aesthetics my brain associates with AI, like beige/cream colors, orange accents, and serif typefaces. This is just one company. One very specific company. Yeah, this company. as well as whack-a-mole UI controls. You know, the ones where you click the toggle and the entire UI repaints and you have to move your mouse somewhere else in the UI to click the toggle again. The non-determinism of AI's grain has seeped into its UI. It all makes me wonder what other aesthetics are being born out of this AI moment, and how many will spread, take seat, and become part of common software interaction paradigms for years and decades to come. This is interesting. This is interesting. I will follow this guy. I'm not sure if AI itself is coming up with new aesthetics, but the designers of applications where the AI is used, they are probably following some patterns and coming up with new patterns. So this whole trend is not really about AI inventing new patterns, but new patterns being invented so that AI can be used more efficiently. I would actually say that there are some terminal patterns that haven't really been very popular before, but have been popularized nowadays. Those sorts of applications which use the terminal fancy escape codes to manipulate what you see here, that wasn't a very common thing. There were very few apps that did this. Now it's becoming more and more popular to have like applications running in a terminal rather than programs. Anchors have no identity. It's fun that the AI was able to reproduce this issue I just described. I'm not sure if anchors need to be identified like that. This is not the cause of weak deformation. This is wrong. Yes, I do not like the diagnosis that AI gives here. It's making the situation even worse. Settle anchor. Oh yes, settle anchor needs to go. Called 5 times. Actually, oh, I remember. There is this concept of a local anchor. The idea was that the object should transform itself around this point. And this is just the point where it's being grabbed by the mouse, by the pointer. Okay, so local anchor is redundant with anchors, with the list of anchors. This is already a good observation. This is absolutely wrong. I kind of see the point here. Okay, if it's possible to introduce some cheap identity for anchors, then that would be okay. 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 This anchor identity. Okay, I am convinced, I think. Is it possible to keep it? Allocating those IDs and cleaning those IDs needs to be done in some reasonable way and just increment them in just a single byte, like 255 anchors should be enough. 255 IDs. think this will weaken the flow. I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly. Read the shader again. This math is actually, it can be arbitrary. The continuity comes from doing this many times. The velocity is here, applied over many steps. There is no sample here, so this should be fast. I actually wonder. I think we could swap this for the shader that we wrote on Friday. And just use a smaller step. Okay, we will play with this later. Oh, so this is how it's okay. This is why there is a separate matrix. It's because snapping is kind of like a correct way to snap, and this adds a latency. So the cable end tracks the finger exactly while the toy's own compositor moves the actual connector less. This is not an issue. It would be cool if there was like a Google Docs like interface to AI where I could just highlight a section and say, this is nonsense. This is such a huge wall of text. It's like another hour of prompting to just fix this. This makes me so sad because I've spent like so much time trying to prompt it properly. And there is still so much work. Okay, let's go. Let's start listing the issues. This identity is probably fine. This one I'm not confident about. I would like to see the effect of this work to see if it actually makes sense. Anyway, I would probably change this whole shader to do this differently. Actually, it would be best to do rigid displacement not in the shader, but by just moving the texture around. maybe they can disappear. There is no, like, those findings are exactly what I told it. Like, I asked it, or actually, no, maybe instead of telling it what it did good, let's just focus on one of those points. Let's just fix this step by step. think anchors will help. And number there are actually some interesting points. Yes, this is actually unused code path. Short break. I have some more articles. Toolcraft. Toolcraft is an open source starter kit and UI library for building custom design apps with AI. Use it to create small creative products, internal utilities, interactive experiments, and tools tailored to your workflow. What can we see here? I see some elements on the UI stay the same, and some change. Looks like it's a tool for making shaders. All of those things are shaders. And this was written by Opus. This writing style is so distinctive, so annoying. It looks like shader toy for AI, where you do not have access to the code. Not sure how I feel about this. I feel there should be probably somewhere an option to edit the code. Let's check this out.
Over the past year, we've been up. Just like this video, subscribe to Choose Going. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.
I'm slightly afraid of cloning this. Yeah, I would probably not check this out. That looks very cool. I'm slightly scared of doing those little edits. This is an edit that I've done recently, and you can see it immediately confused AI. So it had to look around what happened. Those comments, come on, come on. Yeah, the size of the ID. I was thinking about having a char here, like just one byte. One byte would be enough. Carry. There is so much carry. In the code. Carry a special mortar. Oh. The AI language, it's triggering me. It's really triggering. An object may carry modality specific. Yes, this was written by AI. It's written by AI. Is there any non-AI license contains this word? another instance. Oh. Yeah, I will put a to-do for myself to remove all the carry. The code base. Okay, what else it's doing? What else it's doing? Resolve anchors can be... we already had a function for resolve anchors, so it's just adding ID matching here. So going through anchor count. This feels totally opposite. So we are assigning anchors last by the fresh position. Oh, I see, because we want this anchor to stay in place. I see. This is an override. Yeah. Okay, this makes sense. Muscaris. I feel like pointer could be an anchor ID. No, because there could be different. Yeah, if the pointer was attached at a different point or during the previous frame and during a different point now. It shouldn't work like that. Okay, okay. Some debug code, I guess. Pointer. What the hell is anchor to point? Yeah, it's a new invented method. Chase body. Oh, I see. Anchor is the verb. Anchor point. Okay. What is this function doing? Pretty much nothing. Yeah. This is very redundant. Anchor. Anchor. Oh yeah. Something like this, because this has a side effect of creating a toy. Like location widgets should do this locally, and they should be somehow inherited down by the infrastructure.
AI is really good for finding things humans easily mislike, Malak. Corresponding free go trouble.
Yeah, I think it was trained specifically to do so. There was probably like somebody probably created a special, like a training harness that took some like popular projects, open source projects, and deleted the random free and told the AI to find the missing free, and evaluated it like that. It's a very clever way to force AI to learn to catch this specific type of error. And it's fine.
I can do it without AI, though. You just overload Malak and free.
Yeah, but then you have to execute the code. You have to exercise this. Statically, it's slightly harder. And anchor to pointer.
if free count std. Printle, you idiot forgot to free some s. If free count malloc count scd. Printle, you idiot freed something twice.
You can always balance this to 0 by just having some random memory that you allocate a couple of times at the end, or like free it a couple of times so that the counter stays at 0. So this way you can always memory save programs. Just need to allocate some extra buffers at the end before you finish. Or like free the same buffer a couple of times. It's all about the counter, right? This is a side effect. Probably makes sense here. We have an animation. I'm very worried about this. This is like one of the hairiest code I wrote. Now AI is changing it. It's equivalent to this. It's not really changed. Actually, yeah, maybe we do not need this now. Reading this broken English, it's harder than reading the code. What do we have? If you don't know what function is this. True. This is the cloning path. Why is it even doing this? Oh, it's releasing the pointer. I wonder what effect this will have. Interesting change. Okay, that fix seems decent. Let's test this. It's not delivered. What? One thing I'm very interested in is if there are going to be visual glitches when we drag something, because there was this removal of redraw this frame. This is a very important function when we do some funky momentary transforms and we want them to immediately apply. It's possible that with this anchor change, it's no longer going to be necessary. You actually may be able to remove some of those redraw these frames. It's going to be nice. Location, we need it. For each toy should go away another time. Ouch. This issue seems to be gone. Nice. I actually think I will commit this now. There are still bugs. I think shadows are probably fixable. And I kind of see the path towards this effect actually being useful. See this regression here. Something weird happened. Run it again just to see if it's consistent. More. Hey, it's not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Concerning. Okay, it's probably not a new regression then. read through all of this already. This gets in. I think we can call this Great Warp Unification. It's a very good name for this change. It's not finished. It's just a work in progress, call it. Let's try to fix this next problem. And it seems that this redraw this frame is not really necessary. So if this was necessary, what we would see is we would see blinking, like we're just blinking in and out of existence when they are picked and dropped. This isn't happening. Drop some heavy objects here. Another regression. Oh, that was a fun effect. When I delete this, you can see those cards disappearing. It's actually a lot of cards here in a deck. I think this could be an issue. I will keep this because it's kind of fun. The thing is that you can see the shape of the lady behind the cards. This here. After a very brief moment, it can be seen here. Her shadow, at least. Hey, decent, very decent. Go back to the analysis. I do not want to lose it. There are some interesting points here. So first one is fixed. I copy this text. Point 6 was addressed. Nice. And those minor things are not so minor, actually. They are very good things to do. I feel that this property that we can just change this weight sum to 0, I think this is what really unifies all of the warp modes. And see, it's doing stuff. This is the emulator where the parrot runs. I feel it's important to fix number 2 now, because I've spent so much time explaining to the parrot what I want. If the context runs out, we'll have to redo all of this. I've removed the comments before I committed this. happening here? No, this is just a copy of the anchor. Derive what? Anchor. So location widget is using global coordinates? This game is never going to be ready for Steam release. If it continues like that. I'm just keep adding new bugs. Rate faster than I can fix them. I would love to try this on some slower machine, because this latency hiding would be a very fun thing. So many things to do. Like this whole idea of compositors should be removed. I don't know what to do with quantum world shader. And this is going to be fixed in a different way. There. That production. Move the macro recorder. Clone from its menu. You don't get it. Okay. If this is the case, then I think we can just revert. See, it's only doing switch. Once we have the support for rigid drags, yeah, if this is addressed, then I think shadows are not going to be a big issue. The only other big issue are shadows. If we can make this transform rigid and responsive to mouse, and also deform widgets more, yeah, this is the big bet. If it works out, this whole system works. If it doesn't, the great warp unification may have to be reverted. Oh, this is also super annoying. Oh, and we could animate the weight of different snap points. Oh, it simplifies so many things. Yeah, it's actually such a clean mechanism.
Doom says.
Time to read 7 lines of stochastic parrot code.
It hurts. Like, the worst part is that it's so low effort. You try to do your best. You try to provide good examples, good framework, very clear explanation where every word matters. You have to use the terms very consistently. The moment you sleep, it's going to pick up on this, and it's going to introduce some insanity into the code. And the code that it produces is, it invents new terms, it introduces redundancies. It's very exhausting. It's like working with somebody who's somehow lazy and very eager to work at the same time. It's very eager to work, but the work it does, it's just very low quality.
That's me.
I don't think it's possible to generate, for a human to generate this amount of code, which is also that bad. The badness of people-generated code, it's different. Yes, things were the most. Who invents those terms?
They should provide something like a user customizable LoRa over the model that you can train on your own coding style.
I remember that early on in those LMs, it was possible to create LoRa's, but that kind of went out of fashion. I haven't seen anybody create LoRa's or even advertise the ability to make your own LoRa's anymore. They are still, I think, in image generation, but not so much in language models. I miss this. It would actually be fun if we had this customizability. If there was some marketplace for LoRa's, CivitAI. CivitAI is amazing, but there is no CivitAI for coding LLMs. And you can put all sorts of custom image effects as those stable diffusion LoRa's, which are not really doable. I mean, they are doable in LLMs, but nobody does this. There is no CivitAI equivalent to this. That's cute. rights. Okay, rights is another term. Continue this. So inside this shader, we have rich pair displacement, which provides a nice fall-off. Forgot about mean reach. Sorry, okay. It's saying that this should be a constant.
Meister Chica says.
How many bugs were generated during lunch break?
I hope a negative amount. It's actually, I would say, there is this step in every like major change where it gets worse and worse and worse, and then you reach some point where everything starts clicking into place, and after that you just have to polish the rough edges. I think we're just at the top right now.
Impossible.
I will think about this squeeze. Maybe I will actually make this a parameter later. It's very... The squeeze really tells how much skew there can be introduced by dragging something. When I have a clone like that, it's kind of skewed. This is... It's barely any skew right now. When I drag it by the point on the bottom, it should be totally deformed. The top should be like stretched very far away. And this is beautiful. Yes. If weight is equal 0 of all the anchors, you can fall back to a regular displacement. Like, this is like finding this unified theory in physics where all of the types of displacement, like in physics it's not about displacement, in physics it's about, mechanics, but here we're just unifying this, like snapping to grid. When an object is being snapped to grid, this kind of mechanism, it's basically handled by the same mechanism. I can drag object responsively. The point which I drag is actually dragged, but you can see that it also sticks to grid positions. It jumps. I can align it precisely. And the same mechanism is used for shifting it to show that, hey, you cannot really move this out. In the black hole, it's also being used in the black hole. It's also used to show the clones, that there is a clone that's going to be merged. And the same mechanism is also used for hiding the latency. So when I shake the object violently, it deforms. And this deformation is actually because the pointer position comes after we render the texture. So we can render the object at a slightly better position. Incredible. It's like so many things, so much complexity in the renderer is kind of like handled by the same mechanism. This renderer, it was getting worse and worse, but now I think it's getting cleaner and cleaner. And I'm getting hungry, so I will cut the stream here. I will let this thing continue. And next stream is on Friday, according to schedule. So see you in 2 days. Bye bye.